Boom! We're live, I think. Bam, bam. Yes, I'm live. Cool. What's up, friends? I'm back with yet another live stream. I have worked on OBS and whatnot to set up everything correctly, which seems to work now. This actually seems to work now, which is quite nice. And I have a very nice idea for these live streams. For now, I'll probably be alone, right? But at some point, I hope some people will join, maybe some friends, and then we can have like a chit chat. But my idea with these live calls was that I can just sit down. I will have topics to talk about prepared with like a rough outline of what I want to cover. And then if in case in the future we have some audience that's going to be in the chat, we'll be chatting back and forth between the ideas. So you can ask questions, like a quick Q&A. So we will have topic, Q&A, topic, Q&A, topic, Q&A. And I'll do that. And each of these topics that I'm going to talk about are going to be live, like YouTube videos, right? So I'll upload them in hindsight after the fact so that people can rewatch them. But in between, we'll have these interactive sessions where you can basically ask questions at any given point. I think that's going to be fun. That will get a lot of content out there as well. I like the aspect of interactivity. This is actually more exciting than just like sitting down and recording videos. Like sitting down and recording videos is actually quite mundane. Yes. So I am live, right? Let me quickly check, like just to be sure. Boom, boom. Let's see. Like sitting. Yes, I'm super live. Okay, this is cool. Good. Good. Yes, so that's the idea. And for today, I have prepared two ideas. Two topics that we're going to talk about. If someone joins in between and asks questions, ask the questions, it's all good. But otherwise, I also have this prepared, by the way. Like, this is really cool. I have like my face cam, and then I have this, right? This is like really cool. And then I have the same thing without my face. And then I have the same thing for the other display, but I won't show the other display right now. But this is super cool, right? This is like, I can, Mr. Producer and shit, this is awesome. So, yes. Today, and I think that's also the title of the live call. Today we're going to talk about how I launch cold email campaigns for my SaaS clients. And more specifically, how I build lists, prospect lists, right? We're going to talk about prospect lists specifically, and how we split them, how we create them, etc., to actually get the campaign properly prepared so that we can actually launch these campaigns, right? I'm gonna go through the exact process that I use because that's the only thing that I can really touch on. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna have each topic separate as a YouTube video. So I'll make an introduction for each of the YouTube videos. Then I'm gonna keep yapping, and if we have questions in the chat, I'm gonna answer them. If there are no questions, I'll jump to the straight next to the directly, like next topic straight, so we can get through this pretty efficiently, pretty in a very German way, right? So I have my main screen right here. You can see my screen. Boom, this is my screen, right? That's what you can see right there. And then I'll also have my other screen where I have some notes prepared for myself, so I actually can go through this in an efficient way. Yes. So let's get started with the first video actually, and let me also share my screen in a bit. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. Yes, this is gonna be cool. Alright, do I need to prepare anything else? I think I'm good. Should be good. Yeah, let me start with the intro. Alright. Hey friends, what's up? My name is John and I run LeadArc, a cold email lead generation agency. And in this video, I'm gonna cover exactly how we build prospect lists for our B2B SaaS clients from scratch, from start to finish, so you can actually follow this and implement this for yourself too, because I know this is a huge problem that we also have in our own school community, where we teach 80 people right now how to run cold email within their businesses. So I wanted to make a point and make a YouTube video out of this to show you people how I do this from start to finish, right? From end to end. And for that, I have a couple points prepared. I'm gonna go through them while sharing my screen, and we're gonna do that right now. So I start off any prospect list by basically defining who I need to reach out to. So usually when we have clients, they have their ICP criteria, they have them uploaded, right? They have some documentation on that, which we can give to our AI, and then the AI will basically make sense out of that for us. So this will like be the main thing that we will have to look for, so that we can actually build these lists properly. Now, if I talk about ICP, a lot of people just immediately have these avatars in their mind. Some people might not have anything in mind. If you don't know what ICP means, it's basically ideal client profile, right? It's like the ideal customer profile, the ideal target audience that you basically have. And a lot of people have like certain names given to these avatars. Like you might say, my typical customer is John, he's 37 years old, he drives a 911, and he likes to play golf, and he's into like sports equipment stuff. You could have that avatar, right? When I talk about ICP criteria, I mean specifically what kind of companies are we looking at, right? Like what do they have in common? And then at those companies, what kind of people are we looking for, right? So we have these two stages which are going to be super important for later on. So we have the companies, right? Let's just build a nice house. Boom. This is a company, right? C for company. Boom. This is your company. This is the first stage. And then the second stage is people at those companies. Boom. Yes. For ICP criteria, we first only look at companies, and this has a very practical reason. If you're using Apollo or LinkedIn is actually a very good example for this. Yeah, that's also like, all of these are pretty nice examples, but most people that are going to watch this, they are very familiar with LinkedIn Sales Navigator by chance, right? You've sent maybe a couple direct messages to people, connection requests, etc. If you have been using LinkedIn, you'll see that you have both the company search, the account search, and then you have the people search, right? Most people go straight to the people search, which then results in a lot of different people that are not fit for your like criteria, right? And that's usually because filtering on a people level is super hard. And there's a very nice reason to it actually, because this person, right, if they have been in the game for more than a couple of years, they have not only been at this specific company that you're looking for, but they've been in maybe a couple others as well, right? And that history in those databases is messing up the accuracy. So company history of this person is messing up your email lists or your data accuracy. Because now if you go into LinkedIn and you search for, let's say you're looking for software companies, right? You might be looking for software companies, but this specific person might have been in a software company in a past life and is now just chilling in the woods, maybe retired, right? Maybe a crypto pump billionaire. You don't even know. You have no idea. So this is going to make it super hard for you, because you'll go ahead and you'll search for head of sales at software companies that have worked at software companies for at least 3 years. He might be a fit for that, but the data might be outdated, right? Super bad, super annoying. This is the main reason why most, like, if you get cold emails and they are like super irrelevant and they're referencing stuff from your past life. That's exactly why. They are going for people search immediately. That's the main problem, right? So what we do is we do company search first only, right? So we will go ahead and then figure out what the software companies look like, right? How many employees? Boom, employees. Region, right? Maybe based on LTV or revenue that they currently generate. What else? News, right? Let's say they have a Series A funding. What else? Stuff like that, right? I don't want to make it too complicated, but stuff like that. That's going to be the thing that you're looking for. And as soon as you have those companies, you will then have. Let me do something real quick. Let me draw. Good idea. Draw. Boom. This is your spreadsheet. Look at this amazing spreadsheet. Right? You'll have the spreadsheet, right? Boom. This is your spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet will only contain companies. Now, from these companies, let me go back into my note just to make sure. Yes, from these companies, we're gonna pull the website URL now. That's the SOP. I'm literally looking at the SOP. We need to pull their website URLs. So, next step is basically website URLs. Main reason being is we will go ahead and then get their SEO descriptions and we'll get their markdown text or their website, their content as markdown files, right? .md, markdown files. Markdown is basically like markdown is like a type of writing. So if you have like a hashtag, it's like heading 1. And then if you use like a dash, it'll be a bullet point, right? It's basically very easy to read text for AI. That's what we're trying to get. It's like it has zero formatting other than this. It doesn't have any colors. It's just plain text, basically, right? So we'll get the content of their website and the SEO descriptions as markdown files. With those markdown files, we'll use something like GPT 5.6, not 7, 6, not so, Luna, right? We'll use that to put that data alongside the website URLs so that we can build a spreadsheet full of text, right? It's going to be filled with text. That's going to allow us to, one, have the general data like employees, region, LTV, Series A funding, news, hiring or not, etc. And then we'll have the website URLs, and then we will have their full SEO descriptions and the content as markdown files in this spreadsheet. And then we're going to take, I don't even know which AI we use. It might be Luna because it's still efficient, but I think we're using Sol for this. Or Sol is using like a bunch of sub-agents like Luna to then go through the spreadsheet and then compare the SEO description, the actual profiles, right? This is enough information to build a profile. Like, what are they actually selling? What is this business actually, right? Actually. Who is this, right? We can find this out just by looking at the SEO descriptions and the content as markdown files. And we will then compare it with the ICP criteria of our clients. Just to make sure that all the random car washes that had software somewhere on the website at some point are being excluded, because we're looking for software businesses in this specific case, right? So we're going to exclude them all. We're going to exclude all the bullshit, basically. That's why we're here and why we're first looking at all the companies, right? Super important. As soon as our AI with all the agents that it's launching, right? It's going to look at all the roles, etc. Like, and this works with prospect lists that are, I mean, just a couple, I think an hour ago or something, I launched like a prospect list with like 22,000 rows. Easy. This is like minutes of work, if not maybe half an hour. That's pretty much what it is, right? So we're gonna compare again the contents, the actual profiles of these different companies with the ICP criteria to see if there's a match. And whenever there's not a match, we'll exclude them. This will get us a super accurate, compare criteria versus actual businesses in the list. As soon as we have that, we're going to exclude non-fit companies. And then we'll have a super accurate list of companies. This is how this works. And now, taking this, boom. Taking this super accurate list of companies, we will now take this and then look for people at those companies. How? Right? How? How is this gonna work? In here, you remember we had these different filters set up, right, for the company. In here, we'll simply look at the ICP criteria that we have from the documentation, right? And then those will say, wait, let's do this. Boom. Job title, years in role, maybe hiring or not, right? Is this person hiring? And all of the other stuff, right? This is super easy to find. Because now you can make sure that you're getting the list freshly, scraped from these companies. How are you going to do that? You're going to use something like, I'm going to give you some tool recommendations, Prospeo. This is what I use, right? This is what I use. Yes. You get them with Prospeo. You can then, in Prospeo, and this is where wheat separates from chaff. And this is not an offense, but like I had to use that saying, wheat. Is it wheat? Yes. Yeah, of course it's wheat. Chaff. I hope this is right. Let's actually find this out real quick. Wheat versus chaff. I'm basically English at this point. That's correct. Boom. My German ass doesn't know what's what. Wait. Contrast the valuable grain of the wheat plant with the dry, scaly, and useless protective husk, chaff, that surrounds it. So, this is basically the low quality stuff, right? Chaff. Also sounds low quality. So, you would just spend your credits to get their emails. To reveal, right? They say reveal. Reveal their emails. This is like the more expensive route. This is why it's like, this is more expensive. This is more expensive. This gets you like, I think it's like 3 cents per valid email. Sometimes like 3 to 4 cents per valid email, right? And then you have the thing that we're doing, right? What we're doing is we have our internal email guesser. I just called it like that because I didn't have a better name. And what we do in here is basically we find these people with their job titles, etc. And then we get their full name, and we already have the website URL of that specific person. And with those two things, guess what we can do? We can do first name at website url.com. And then we can do a bunch of variations of these. We can do first name, dot last name at website, etc. Or only the first initial, right? At website URL, etc. We can now guess email addresses, and guessing email addresses is super cheap. It's super cheap because we only have to look up these two things. We don't even have to reveal their email, right? So that doesn't cost us a credit, which is super nice. And then we go ahead and we use Million Verifier to go ahead and verify all the different variants to then get the proper, million. I'm giving away the sauce. Isn't that wild? And we have a viewer. I'm famous, basically. I'm on TV. I'm on TV at this point. Yes, not Million Verified, but Million Verifier. I'm literally giving away the sauce. So what we do is we take all of these different variations of full name at websiteurl.com, and then we figure out that we guess their email addresses, and then the valid ones we take and we put them into the email campaigns. And with this, at times, I have a lot of numbers in my mind right now, but I think we're getting on average like 0.8 cents per valid email, right? So it's basically 3 to 4 cents versus 0.8 cents per valid email, like actual valid email. And by the way, 3 to 4 cents, this is not valid. This hasn't been verified yet. This is like, if you just pull it from Prospeo and then they say it's triple verified, that's what it is. Which still is not fully valid. Like, this is rarely valid. This is like 88%, 90% maybe, like 90% valid, right? So you're risking 10% bounce rate. Yes. Leon is here. Hi, friend. Boom. Yes, you're risking 10% bounce rate, which is horrible for your campaigns. But this is real. This is super real, right? So, this is the situation. This is how we get the email addresses of these people. And basically, like, all the invalid ones you remove. As soon as you have them removed, you'll basically have your ready list, right? Boom. You'll have your... That's a terrible arrow. Clean list that you can email, which is also going to be 90% accurate, right? You can email these people now. Boom. Done. And this entire like algorithm where you first find the company and then you go through the steps of like figuring out what kind of companies these actually are, and then you compare them to the criteria that you actually have, exclude the non-fit ones, and then you find the correct people, and then you find their email addresses, and then exclude the ones that are actually not clean, right? They are not valid. That's how you get a clean and accurate prospect list that you can now email, right? This is the process. And you can run this algorithm first on a small scale, test it out a little, and then if the response rates are good, which they usually are because it's a super accurate list, you will then go ahead and then run this up to the max and then find every single person possible at all of the companies that you could find with those criteria. So your only bottleneck is really like finding the correct companies. That's basically it, because you will always find someone at that company. Like you can, if the head of sales or CRO, etc., is your ICP at those companies, you can look for all sorts of job titles like head of sales, CRO, etc. That's pretty much what you're going to do, right? Yes. So this is that, and we have this entire thing on school. Because we're teaching people how to run cold email within their businesses for $199 a month with 80 members, and you get daily Q&A where we like answering your questions with like custom videos for you. We have weekly calls like these where we go through this in your campaigns, like actually live with you. There's no AI stuff whatsoever. We have courses, etc. And you get access to these email scrapers that I just talked about, where you can basically guess their email addresses for super cheap. You just get access to that. So even if you pull like a list of 20,000 people, I think you already saved the $200 or whatever. I think that might be an exaggeration. I don't know, like whatever the math is. But like you pretty quickly get your money back, which is super nice. Yes. So this is that. That's the first video. Done. This is super cool. This is actually pretty cool. Yes. This is super cool. Yeah. Let me actually elaborate that on that a little bit, because I said like you will get proper response rates, right? The reason you will get proper response rate, let me do this. The reason you will get proper response rates if you have a clean list is is literally because you can now write an email that is specifically talking to one persona. And that's a very, very underrated thing in general. It is super, super underrated, right? A lot of people, especially if they're running like mass cold email outreach, and I did the same thing. I did the exact same thing. When I started out, I did the exact same thing. So I'm guilty of this 100%. You see the prospect list with like tens of thousands of people, and it feels like you are talking to an audience because there are so many people, right? So you start writing your email in a very weird way where you like, when you read it as a single person, it looks like a speech to an audience because that's what you're like. You're in the mode of talking to an audience because there are so many people. But if you manage to ignore however many people are in a prospect list and you just focus on one person and you get as many of these persons, right, in that prospect list. So you have a bunch of people in that prospect list that all have the same persona. You can write to that single person and then reach everyone in the exact same way, which will then increase the response rates because every one of these people are going to really like feel addressed. And if people feel addressed, they will respond, usually. Because if you're in the New York subway, for example, and you wanted to like, let's say you saw your mom, right? And you wanted to call out your mom in the midst of all the chaos. Like you see Spider-Man over there, there's the subway driving in, it's chaotic as fuck, right? The only way you'll reach your mom is literally by calling out her name. And if by happenstance there's another person that has the same name, they will look at you as well because they will feel addressed. All the other ones won't feel addressed. If you start screaming and shouting, but you say everything except your mom's name, no one will care because no one will feel addressed. It will just add to the chaos of the subway, right? And this is a huge problem that a lot of these cold emails have that I also receive. My past cold emails from years back, they were terrible. They don't work because you're not addressing anyone. It doesn't work, right? But yeah, let's close off the first video with this one. And let's move on to the second video. Let me actually prepare real quick so I can actually show you that one as well. Boom. I think this was cool. I think this is like really fun. Yeah, this is actually really fun. I like this. Was this also? Okay. Yeah, okay. Done. Boom. This is a nice title. I think this is a nice title. Yes. Let me make a quick intro and then we'll get started. Boom. I keep forgetting, do I need to prepare anything else? I think this is it. Bam, bam, bam. Should be it. Yes. Hey friends, what's up? My name is John and I run LeadArc, a cold email lead generation agency for software businesses, B2B specifically. And in this video, I want to cover why we're splitting both Gmail and Outlook addressing campaigns into two separate campaigns, because we've had a very nice experience. If you just look at take a look at my screen, we've had a very nice experience with this specific strategy for AirPay, which is also SaaS by the way, where we generated over 120 plus opportunities in the last 60 days. This is a very current email campaign that we've ran, and they've been a client for 2 years now, and it's been going pretty well, and really proud of this specific case study because over the years, this client alone has taught me so much about cold email because I started off with these people, right? They are like the day ones, basically. We go all the way back. We're like that, right? And for them specifically, I found out a very interesting thing, which is that if you take a look at the screen, I found out that if you split email service providers, you will find out which emails to contact. Because with all of these different providers, right? So we have Google, then we have Outlook, And then we have like a lot of other, which like includes Zoho and stuff, but like who cares about Zoho? I'm not gonna write down Zoho. No one cares about Zoho. And then we also have the ones that have spam filters, like Barracuda, Proofpoint, and Mimecast, just to name a couple, right? If you email these separately, you will find out something that is super impressive, right? Which is that each and every single one of these will give you separate response rates, aka deliverability, right? Because the response rates are a primary indicator of how often, right? How often you land in the primary inbox or spam. If you have bad response rates, you'll be landing in spam. If you have solid response rates, you'll be landing in the primary inbox. And now, the reason this, like all of this is super interesting is, if you have, say, 100 different inboxes, right? 100 inboxes. You can send out something like, right? You can send out something like, I think, 2,000 emails per day, right? If you now have a prospect list that has a split of 40% these, right? This is terrible right now. This is 40%. And then 30% this, and then 30% rest, right? Let's do 30% rest. If you then find out that other gives you, on average, a point, usually it's like a 0.9. Just played music. Just like a 0.9% response rate, right? And you find out that Outlook, very typical, very, very, very typical, gets you something like this. And then you figure out that Google is giving you a 2.6% response rate. Man, you are wasting 60% of your daily sending capacity. This means that with 2,000, right? You're wasting 1,200 emails sent per day on garbage, on absolute garbage, which is why we split these campaigns into multiple campaigns. So we will have the same list, we'll target the same people, right? But we will split the prospect list into the different types of email addresses we're gonna email to, right? This is super important because just doing this has, I think, tripled the response rates that we got for AirPay. And I don't know why my internet is doing its thing. Are we still live? Yes, thank God we're live. Okay, this is exactly what happened for AirPay, right? And this has improved the campaigns in an impressive way, like super impressive. And I learned this almost like 1.5 years ago or a year ago, something like this. Wild, right? So this is super high ROI. So what you'll do is basically, wait, I also have some notes, so I have to look them up. So just so I don't miss anything, which I want to tell because that will piss me off later on after I finish the video. So yes. No, we're completely on course right now. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna run these campaigns. So you're gonna have campaign, let's say you're targeting roofers because you have like a SaaS that's helping roofers, right? This is the thing in the US. And then what you'll have is you'll have the Google ones, you'll have Outlook, and then I'll just like keep this very short. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna keep this short. Other, and then spam filter. Now I'm gonna give you the 101 version of this basically. So the highest ROI you'll get from analyzing this is literally like these three, right? Because spam filters, like you might have guessed it, spam filters are simply like a lot of corporate email addresses have that set up. they have these service providers where Barracuda or Proofpoint or Mimecast, etc., they're looking at your email like extensively, right? To understand whether it's spam or not. And if it's spam, they will just literally put you in the spam folder and then flag you. Can't recommend sending to them. I just can't, right? Because I also stopped sending to them. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. We have one healthcare, like, I mean, in healthcare, a lot of these email addresses are like using spam filters, but most of them are also using Outlook. So I just said, okay, let's just remove the spam filter one. I'll give you the 101 version of this, like keep it very simple. This is gonna get you more than 80% of the results. So you're gonna run these 3 campaigns, and then you're gonna analyze the following metrics to see how this is. So you're gonna look at response rates, you're gonna look at positive response rates, and then you're gonna look at bounce rates, right? So what's good, what's bad? If the response rates are higher than 1%, you're good. You are good, right? If it's around 1%, still okay, but like definitely want to keep it above 1%. Positive response rates. This has very little to do with deliverability. The only reason that I'm telling you why you should look at this is literally, if you have a decent response rate, is your positive response rate at least a couple percent, right? Let's say 3 to, or like 2 to 10%. But this is also very subjective because it could also be 1% and still be profitable. So just look for profitability. Bam, right? You're gonna look for profitability. That's the only thing that you're gonna look for. And then for bounce rates, obviously this needs to be below 3% at least, at max. Like this is like 3% is like, it's like high. It's higher end of the spectrum, definitely, right? You want to keep it below 3%, definitely. And if you get bounce messages, right, you always need to analyze what they say. Why is this? Yeah. What do the bounce messages say? Right? This is super important because then you can see whether it's because of some mismatch or some spam filter or whatever, right? Or if it's just literally, yeah, this was like an invalid email. Happens, right? Happens to the rest of us. It's completely normal, which is why some bounces are reasonable. 2% is reasonable. You can run with that, right? That's not a problem. Yes. Oh, we have people in the chat. This is awesome. Kant, what's up? He's also in the school community. Nice. Good stuff. I appreciate that. This is cool. This is really cool. Yes. So, with that said, this is why we split Gmail and Outlook campaigns. This is super important. You need to do this. And if you see that, for example, wait, what's happening? Yes. If you see that for example, you're performing extremely well with Outlook, kill the other ones. If they do not make any sense, kill the other ones. But what you'll notice is, and what I've noticed as well is, Google performs best, like every single time. Every single time, it's so wild. Like Outlook performs so hilariously bad. And now, a couple nuances, right? Let's talk about nuances. Yes, Outlook will have worse response rates. But also, sometimes, you will only be able to reach out to Outlook emails. Why? For example, you're reaching out to healthcare clinics or businesses in general, right? Healthcare, like vertical in general. They all use Outlook for some reason. I don't know why. They all do it. I don't know why. Right? So sometimes you don't have a choice. You literally do not have a choice. You will have some Google inboxes. Let's say you have like 1,000 prospects, right? Prospects in your list. In healthcare, a lot of the times, like 60 to 70% of those are using Outlook. So you'll be missing out on 70% of the list. And then you'll have to do some math because yes, Google will get better response rates, but then Outlook will get you 70% of the volume. And then you'll have to see, okay, what will get me the most responses in total, right? And we can do quick math. Let's do quick math. Live math is not good, but I'll just give it a shot anyway. So we have 1,000 contacts, right, in your list. 700 of those use Outlook. Let's say, this is for like simplicity. 300 use Google, right? Let's say Google gets a 2.6% response rate. Outlook will get you 0.6, right? And now you can do the math. This means that out of 700 people, no, this is 6%, 0.6. You'll get 4.2 responses, right? For Google, you'll have this very similar thing. What is this? 2.6. You get 7.8 responses, right? In this case, I'll still run both, because in total I'll get way more responses. I would just accept the fact that I will probably get lower response rates and then burn through my accounts more quickly, because the lower the response rates in general, the faster you'll basically cook your inboxes. That's just real, right? That's just real. Yes. But this is the nuance that I wanted to give you. If you have, I don't know, the exact reverse, I'll not run Outlook at all. I'll just like, I'll keep the health of my inboxes in exchange for just a couple of responses, which will probably not matter that much, especially the higher the volume, like the higher the scale, the less it will really matter in total, because like this will outweigh this hard. It already does, right? So that's pretty much how I would go about this. And yes, also here I have two things to tell you. So number one, if you want to learn how to implement all of this stuff with all the campaign checks and all of these lessons, these nuances, right? You can go to one of the links in the description to join our school community, where we will teach you how to run this inside of your business for $200 a month, $199, right? And you'll get end-to-end courses, you'll get our exact workflows, you'll get our email scrapers, you'll get our internal master inbox software so you can reply to new leads in minutes, right? You will get direct access to me, where I'll go through all the questions inside of the community and then answer them and record custom videos for you. And we will have weekly calls where I'll go through your campaigns live with you on the call through your account. So it's very hands-on, right? It's done with you. This is our done with you offer. And then we have a done for you offer. So if you can't be bothered to do any of this and you want someone to just run this stuff for you and then book calls onto your calendar, and you only pay per booked call, right? For your software company, we do this for software companies specifically. We've had banger case studies. AirPay, 120 plus opportunities generated in the last 60 days. Wild, right? 120 plus opportunities last 60 days. And then we have this logistics SaaS case study where we booked over 230 plus demos within 10 months. You can watch the full case study. It's 25 minutes here, 11 minutes here, 22 minutes here. We have a full explainer on how the offer actually works. And if you book a call, we'll have scripts and lists ready for you. So if you approve those lists and scripts, which we've written for you specifically, we can get started within 24 hours. If you pass, you can keep the scripts and lists and do with them whatever you will. This is the offer. You can start within 24 hours with unlimited scale and dedicated SDRs that are going to call every single lead that we generate and book them onto your calendar. Completely done for you. Yes. These are my two offers. Otherwise, I'll close it off right here. This was the live call. This was pretty fun. Recorded 2 videos. This is super nice. I really appreciate this. I'll switch back to my main cam. I have OBS. This stuff works. And now hopefully, when I click stop streaming, it's gonna stop streaming. It's gonna put it on my channel. I'll get my content. I can repurpose it, right? All of these things, I hope this will happen. For the people in the chat, very much appreciate you for joining. And with that said,